come at towards the end of the meeting on the sanctuary stuff.
Try not to get ran over.
I don't think we're gonna have any concerns. I think we're all in agreement, but if you, I might
Becky.
call on you if I need to.
I,
What do you got for me? Gold?
well, honestly,
What? No.
They started in the military.
What are they? So what do I gotta do?
Nothing. This is our 200th anniversary.
That's beautiful.
the office, and I had to go to another meeting, had to do something else, and I just took everything and threw it in my bag and said,
Fantastic.
I'll have to sort it if I can later.
You're a good man,
For
Rich.
me?
Yes.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
That's
That
beautiful.
started in the military whenever
Yes.
guys of special forces and stuff, they would challenge
yeah.
you if you were in a bar or something, say, bring us your coin, and if you didn't have one, you had to buy all the beer. So it evolved to
Yep.
So,
Good deal.
collector's items.
Oh, yeah.
thank you. Have you ever heard of the tattoo?
Billy, they printed me off a copy, but I got one today in the office
Not the
because
tattoo.
I wanted to review something, and I thought I was printing a couple pages and printed 80. So I'll take that back and recycle it.
Yeah, I just talked about.
So I'll recycle that.
You know, speaking of beer, oh, I'll tell you later. I'm live.
I'll try to go fast, but no promises. So I was reading this article on this good-looking dude.
How are you
How many
doing?
copies of this did you get?
It's
100?
good. Had some over the years, and I'm God's taking care of it. He is. I feel like back in the day, but I'm trying to stay one day at a time and not plan ahead. Yes, I guess it's hard not to.
My dartboard's got
Trying
some big
to
holes in it.
focus on a lot more.
Fill in some gas.
Definitely got my attention. That was Father's Day of 14. They took
Love
the
you.
artery out and replaced it with that vein. Yeah. And the heart attack came, 23rd of December.
Oh.
And now I've got 2 stents instead of 1. So I call it God slash me gets my attention. So it works, but I'm probably closer now than I ever have been. And I thank him and appreciate him. I said, you think I could absolutely bring me closer to him every problem. So, yeah, I'm doing good though. I crushed toward ripped an artery and didn't even know I did it. So they took the artery out,
Ready?
put it here.
I'll get her going here. I'm waiting for Becky to.
Injuries in one hand. I had Dr. Maltera's one surgeon come down that Sunday and operated on me. But yeah. Oh, I don't have a clue. No. I've been working, but I thought I was getting arthritis. I'd work all day, get home 10, 11 at night, it'd start hurting. But then that Saturday, I got home about 11 o'clock. Went to bed about midnight.
You ready?
Yes, sir. Good luck. You got an audience.
So, yep. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Morgan County. We are about to begin our meeting here. So I'll let you kind of settle down. We'll have a prayer and a pledge of allegiance and then followed by a prayer. We've been, from the first of the year, we've been honoring a veteran, and some of us by leading our pledge. But if anybody would like to lead the pledge in honor of a relative or a friend that was a relative that was a veteran, they're welcome. Would anybody like to do that? Donnie? Donnie Warren, EMS.
I'd like to dedicate this to my grandfather, James Nesbitt, prisoner of war, captured by the Germans in France, 1944, spent the rest of the war in Poland.
Thank you, Donnie.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd bow your heads for just a minute, please. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for the sunshine today that you have blessed us with, Lord, and want to thank you for the rain that we've had as well, Lord. Thank you for our farmers. Thank you for all of our emergency personnel. and our military people, wherever they are around this great planet you created, Lord. We ask that you please pour out that wisdom and knowledge on everything that we do tonight, not only for the taxpayers, but especially for you. We ask it all in that precious Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Donnie, and thank you, Kenny. I call this Commissioners' meeting to order. The first order of new business is our grant application, and Becky Waymeyer has got some information. She's got some grants that she'd like to ask for. So the Waymeyer family has shown up. We'll listen to your grant applications, please.
I'm going to turn it over to our chairman, LEPC Chairman, Steve Leidy.
Surprise. We're applying for two different grants, HEMP grants. One is for $6,000. That's going to be for a very unique tabletop exercise in which we're hiring a contractor. It'll actually be a little town with roads and that on top of tabletop. And we'll put different scenarios in and run local emergency responders through a couple different scenarios, them involving hazardous materials. The other grant is an HEMP grant. It's for 5 of us to attend the Emergency Management Association, EMAI. Yeah, conference. It's coming up in October, I believe.
First, it says.
October 1st, yes.
Right.
So, we need your permission to apply for these grants to move it on forward.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Becky.
You're welcome.
Gentlemen, would you like to respond? Go ahead, take a motion.
I'd respond making a motion in the amount of $1,375 for the training that they're going to take part of this October, as well as the other hazard material emergency preparedness grant in the amount of $6,000 for a tabletop exercise.
Brian Kyle, second.
We have a motion on the table for approval of these two grants. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And motion passes 3-0, and enjoy your October visiting, and thank you for all the work you're doing for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to put them in a little folder down here. Can you wait till the end of the meeting, or do you want them? Oh, you're a rascal. Looking over our evening enjoyable group out there, there's a couple of faces I want to introduce before I go any farther. After the Pledge of Allegiance, I noticed, and I don't see him, Tony Hinkle, where'd you go? There you are, you're hiding from me. Tony has just returned and has spent his first, is this your first week back? Second? I missed you. Tony's our highway engineer, or county engineer, which includes highway. But he's been, how long were you over in Kuwait? Well, he's been over there, managed to acquire COVID. It sicked him out in a tent out in the middle of the desert, but he survived the whole thing. And we're delighted to have you back in service to our county. Good to have you back, Tony. We also have a new employee. Our highway department has made some changes, and he's shaking his head, and he doesn't want to tell him who he is, but the guy shaking his head in the back of the room, we've got the sheriff keeping an eye on him, Grant Collingsworth, and we're so... Welcome to our county and service to our county. We're glad to have you two gentlemen with us this evening. I should have addressed you right at the beginning of the meeting, but I couldn't see Tony, and he's just back there hiding from me. But he's not hiding. He never is. He's always accessible. Next order of business, we have on your agenda here, gentlemen, and back there, and it is a deed of dedication, but that's not quite ready yet. Is Mr. Sweeney here?
take the next three real fast. The final documentation that Mr. Sweeney brought in last week, I asked him to hold off on coming before you all till Tony could coordinate with him, and Tony spoke with him today, so they're going to sit down later,
Okay.
I think tomorrow. So that should be ready if everything's in order for your next meeting. On the next item, the Spillman agreement, Mr. Hamilton was not able to be here tonight. That is a contract related to data usage, but he asked if we could table it so he could be here to more fully explain it to your next meeting.
Okay.
And then,
Do we need to do we need to table both of these?
yes, sir.
Okay, let's start with the deed of dedication on Hadley's Corner up there. That's up in Collett, right off of Bridge Street.
Brian Kyer makes that motion that we table the deed of dedication.
Okay. Motion's made and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. The second one is an agreement with Spillman with our 911 center, and we're not quite complete on that one yet. Jim's got to look some stuff.
Brian Kyer makes a motion that we table the Spillman agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. That motion to table passes 3-0. Thank you, and thank you.
And then on the,
Next, is Stephanie here? Are we just going to address this? You going to take care of Stephanie? Okay.
yeah, Stephanie, this was an agreement that she has for, I believe, servicing of a voting machine. She's the purchasing agent for her department, so she didn't actually need to put it on your guys' agenda. She just submitted it to you all as an FYI.
Okay.
It's something that's part of her budget, so she has the authority per local ordinance to do that.
Well, we'll just let Stephanie know we appreciate being recognized, and for the people there in our audience, what she was getting was service. Is one of the more important parts of our government is our voting machines, and it's a service agreement to make sure they're up clicking like they oughta. So that's the agreement, and she's gone ahead and signed it as she has the authority to do. Next item is another sort of an interesting item. It's actually a transparency item that we want to make sure everybody's aware of what goes on in the county and what happens. And we've got a couple, there's two gentlemen, there's two conflict of interest disclosures. This is just simply a procedure to make sure everybody knows that we're doing things up in front of everybody. In conforming with the state statute. I want to share just briefly, everybody should be aware of what goes on in county government, but in the conflict of interest in Chapter 7 of IC Code 3544-1-1-41, it states that the public servant is not prohibited from receiving compensation for services provided as a public servant or for expenses incurred by the public servant is provided by law. And so, but they do want us to, we want to make sure they're aware, that you are aware as the public, that these folks are serving the public and not in their own interest, but that they're serving in a position in our county. So we have two of those in front of us, totally unrelated. One is from a gentleman who works with our EMS system, Justin Yanatoti, and he is providing some services to the county, and he is filling out that uniform conflict of interest disclosure statement. It's in your packet, describes his work and what he does. I think we probably ought to hit these individually and see if there's any questions about it. So any comments on this disclosure statement that Tony's providing, Justin's providing for our county EMS and some people in the community? Any questions on that one? Then I'll entertain a motion that we approve that, recognize that conflict of interest statement. I don't know if we have to approve it.
Brian Kyer makes a motion that we accept Justin Yanani's uniform conflict of interest disclosure statement.
You want a second? You are. All right, I shall second that.
Yeah.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. The second one is on a member of our, I'm sorry, oh,
I'm
one
abstaining.
abstention. I am sorry. Apologize, Kenny. The second most conflict of interest involves I'm sorry, I know why you have an employee involved here. That was a big-
I'll just make it public. I'm gonna disclose that he's dating my daughter, and that's why I'm abstaining. I don't think I need to be voting on anything to do with this, so I wasn't gonna say nothing, but I need to, I guess, so. Appreciate it.
Well,
Thank you.
that's a transparency thing too. We keep all our interest in where we are, so I'm sorry,
It's
Kenny,
all
I
right.
didn't want you to,
Not a problem.
I didn't know the date. Yeah, okay, I'll just be quiet here.
I didn't until just here a while back, so.
Home to Kenny.
He's not seen the casket yet.
The second one is with a member of our county council who has been for several years. When we have a complaint on a mowing issue, we send it out to a lot of folks that have an opportunity to take that task of mowing the property that we have the complaint against. And one of the people that's been doing it for quite a while has been one of the members of our council, and he's now on the members of our council, and he just wants to make sure that we understand that we're not giving favoritism and there's transparency there. So it's a mowing interest from a member of our county council, but obviously he didn't he didn't run on the county council so he'd get the mowing job. So he's been doing it forever. So, and he's one of the few that step up. So any comments or questions on that? I'll entertain a motion on that.
Anyhow, makes a motion, we pass the second conflict of interest statement by Troy Sprinkle.
Okay, and I'll second. And all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right, conflict of interests. Before we move to the next, well, the one that I have paper on, we have some committee needs to be formed on our ARPA subcommittee to discuss some of the concerns and money issues, and we need to put a committee together. There's several ways it can be done. These people are going to meet and kind of decide where some of this money can be. We can request the money for some of the projects that are allowed for. We don't have any paperwork there, but I'd like to discuss if we want 5 or 6 or 7 people on the board and who they might be. Does anybody have any? And that's our determination. It's our ball game. It's in our court as far as the composition of this committee. Do you have any recommendations? Do you have anything you guys think that how you'd like to see this committee be shaped up?
Myself, I'm fine with the 7-member board. I'm fine with Josh representing us, if you guys are, as well as Mr. Collier, Mr. Baston. From the private sector, I'd recommend Craig Fenneman. That's just 4 of them I had down here.
We probably need some council on there too. Did you put a council member?
I only had them 4 wrote down so far, but I don't have a problem with that at all.
Okay.
Josh, Dan, Craig Fenneman, yourself is the 4 that I had wrote down, so.
You say myself?
Brian.
Oh, Brian, okay. I'm going to say I'd rather, Brian, I think he's more the money guy.
Him and Dan get along so good, I had to.
Most of the time.
Out to the audience where I finally got Dan to sit, so he knew he knows his place.
Well, Commissioner Collier, may I respond to that by simply saying we put you on the end down there for a particularly good reason.
Traditionally, the
Social
guy that sits
distance.
on this end is usually the next one out the door.
Yeah, before we get anything signed, we just have to lasso you, bud. Okay, well, I think that would work. I think we probably ought to put that in the form of a motion as far as the committee and Kenny's recommendations for the people. Is that?
I think we need to fill out at least the other 3, that's for sure, before we do a motion.
Not talked to anybody about it.
Okay, let's do this, then. Let's just say that's our plan, and then you'll bring those to the next meeting. And after we talk to some of the citizens that would be involved. Does that work?
It's fine with me.
Fine with you, sir? On the end? Okay. All right. Public nuisance ordinance and discussion is, we're not gonna, Jim's not got anything for us yet. I know we keep dragging on that one, but I think he's getting close, so we'll.
I corresponded with him, and he thought he would have something to us shortly. So I'm
I
hoping,
think we're ready for it. I think we've discussed it and beat that horse to death, so let's
Yes, sir.
get that, get him in the stable and,
will you see if we can't get that on the next?
I'm sorry. Right, I think we are.
Kenny, how makes a motion, we table the public nuisance till next meeting?
All right. Motion to table.
Second?
Second, public nuisance ordinance will be tabled until the next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. Doree from our HR has some discussion about Assistant Park Director.
Yes, it was brought to me about a month ago for an assistant parks director that would be able to fill in some of the spaces, unlock some of the facilities, take care of reservations, and deal with the public on the events and all of that. And so we brought to WIS an assistant park director, and this would be a position that would report to the commissioners. And I think before you, you have the job description that we came up with. You also have WIS's condensation of what they thought, as well as what the Job Maintenance Committee thought when they went over it. The Job Maintenance Committee was fine with it. They wanted to include Josh in the job description because all of the other positions, which would be on the same level, would report to Josh as a representative of the commissioners. They also felt that they would be good, I believe it's $21.47 for the pay an hour, as opposed to a part-time rate, because there is a lot of responsibility that would be taken on with this position. And it would be part-time only.
Thank you, Doree. Any questions or comments from the board?
Maybe just to expand a little bit to the public, that the last several months, probably Josh, correct me, maybe the second month of this calendar year, we started having department head meetings, which really shouldn't be revolutionary, but it kind of, we bring in the department heads that the commissioners oversee, and make sure that everybody that we're over is on the same page. So when she says that that assistant would come into that and kind of report to Josh, that would be the person representing the parks in those meetings, so everybody else would know what's going on. We can help each other and coordinate a little bit more efficiently.
As Commissioner Collier said, that actually the commissioners are currently the park board, and that probably needs to be addressed in 2022, perhaps, something we need to look at further down the pike. But right now, that's why we're getting a lot of the concerns about the park. Instead of a board, it's us board. You know, we've got other boards and other hats we put on, but the parks are quite an important part of our quality of life concerns for the county, and we've been doing a yeoman's job, especially Kenny, on making sure and Valita, making sure that the parks are in fine shape. If you haven't been up to the Waverly Park, for example, please make a visit. And there is tremendous amount of work involved in keeping everything organized. And we've got a beautiful parks, 2 in the county, and that's just the beginning. But it's going to be a growing thing as our population grows. By the way, I think you might have seen the census record. Morgan County grew at like 4%, which that's bigger than we did in 2010. And I think that number's not going to go down in 10 more years. So parks are going to be a part of what people want to put. And we're just kind of opening the door to some of the things that are going to be happening for the benefit of the people in the county. So we have this description, and do you see anything in there you want to modify from the WISC or any wages? Then I'll entertain a motion about what we do with what Doree has presented to us.
Kenny Hill makes a motion that we approve the position described for the Morgan County Assistant Park Director.
We have a motion and a second to approve the information provided by HR Director Doree for an Assistant Park Director for, when would that begin, Doree? After the budgeting?
Yeah, January 1st, 2020.
January 1st next year. So we'll live through the remaining part of the year without one, but we'll get a little bigger kick when we start with the budgeting. Thank you. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Thank you, Doree.
Thank you, Doree. Motion passes 3-0. Okay, next item on the agenda. Hello there, sir. Jim? Sir Jim, do you have anything that we need to bring back? I thought we already passed this.
A long, lengthy way of saying, just giving authorization to contract with the appraisers.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Is this the nuisance?
What is it?
Is this the
I'm
nuisance?
sorry.
What'd you say?
Is anybody,
No.
anything changed?
Nope, it references,
Quick read, I do numbers, not,
the
I'm a
last
slow
two
reader.
pages, the last 2 pages are engagement letters from the 2 appraisers. One came in at 3,000, the other one 3,100. The bulk of the middle of it is the resolution you adopted last time, which is incorporated by reference. All this does is give authority,
Get the
myself
appraisals.
and the other attorneys to prepare a contract to engage with these appraisers, and the intent being to leave no uncertainty as to compliance with the process.
Now, for the folks in the audience that are familiar with what we're doing here, we're in a discussion of how to, it concerns a park, actually, and we've been meeting in trying to straighten out some property concerns on the Waverly Park area, and we've already met and passed a resolution to kind of begin this process, and this is a continuation, I think, as I understand you, right, Jim?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, this is just a continuation of what we've already begun and the others referenced, so,
Basically, the
This
next
is-
step, which is just to hire the appraisers, that's all this
okay.
does.
So this is just a continuation of what we've already done, and we need to approve this next step, correct? Okay, I mean, we need to if we want to proceed with what we've already started.
That's right.
Any questions from the council or the board? Not the council, they might have a question. Jason? All right, I'll entertain a motion. The chair will entertain a motion.
Makes a motion that we continue with the resolution that we adopted at a prior meeting as presented.
Kenny Hill seconds the motion.
we had a motion to proceed with the resolution and additions to proceed with our program that we're starting. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. That got you kicking there, Jim? Thank you. Yes, sir. Okay. We tabled last time that takes care of old business as I can see it on our agenda. We tabled the Zoll equipment lease, and I think there was some, Donnie is making with, that I think there was some concern that you wanted to review.
Yeah, I think that's what we plan to do again. I know there's been a couple changes that have gone back and forth this last couple days that I've not had time to look at, and I don't think I'm the only one.
Can we table that till,
Commissioner?
oh, I'm sorry.
I think, to Jim's point, we have a few things that we still want to tweak. It's not ready for a vote, but Donnie and the representative from Zoll are here, and so I think in terms of discussing the substantive points of it, I think we are ready for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's have Donnie and Mr. Representative from Zoll explain some things to us or tell us what they've got to say. Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it. We're getting closer.
Good.
Being able to wrap this up. I know that we're excited about it, Zoll's excited about it, and the county will be better off once we get there.
Excuse me just a second. Can you folks hear him in the back? This mic at this, I don't know how you just almost have to swallow the
You
thing.
almost got to have it like right here like
Like I'm
this.
doing this.
My solo career's over. But we're excited about the contract, Zoll's excited about the contract, and the county's going to benefit greatly from the contract once we get it up and running, not just from Morgan County EMS's perspective, but other agencies being able to take advantage of the pricing that we're getting for this equipment. There were some things that had questions on a few days ago. We had a agreement. This deals with the master agreement, and this is where we found the issue as far as the legal issue that we're looking at right now in Section 8. But it addresses all the concerns that we had as far as the warranties, the worry-free maintenance, and how that's going to work. It's going to continuously roll over. So based on what they put into the contract, it's kind of like click and drop type stuff for the contract. So the way it's written out is it's going to be rolling over each time it expires. It's not really expiring, it's just rolling over for that additional term up until the end of the 10-year term of the agreement. For all of the warranties, worry-free maintenance, all that. The one thing that we didn't have that we have now is we have the master list for the consumables, and exactly what it's going to cost us per individual item that they sell. And one of the new things to this is, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, is it's not 27% any longer when they renegotiate it or when they put the contract back in to get us the dollar figures or to get us below the actual dollar figures that were quoted last time. We were at 97, 97.32. The new contract came back at over $10,900. It was about a $1,200 increase, which over 10 years would have charged the county additional $144,000. We weren't going to move forward with that. We were quoted a certain amount. Our sales reps said we quoted them a certain amount. They went to bat for us, and they actually got the contract price down to $97.07, I believe. Roughly $97.07, which is going to be an additional savings on top of what was initially quoted. So that's good.
Is that a 10-year?
That's a 10-year contract, yeah. Which, the way it's really going to benefit us is we're seeing astronomical rises in medical supplies.
Right.
By locking in now, they're guaranteeing that they're beating all of our suppliers on these disposable items that are factored into the contract as far as we're going to get. On top of that, with these disposable items, instead of being a 27% discount, they're going to be at a 30% discount now. So that's where we get into the additional savings. It may not look it in the initial budgets where we're going to have paying about the same amount, but with the supply increases that we're seeing, one article that I read had a doctor's office that was paying $6.50 for a box of gloves. They're now paying $30 for a box of gloves. We're seeing the same type of increases in prices. If those are going to come down, I don't know. Probably not when you look at United Health Group, who just had a first quarter this year that they saw a 44% increase in their revenue. So I think those things are around to stay because the doctor's offices, way it looks now, is they're going to be petitioning the CMS to increase what they can bill for the PPE consumables at their level. So you're looking at your bill when you get back from a doctor's office visit, and you'll see like $6.50 per person for PPE costs. And now that's going to be factored in now. So those, I think those prices, especially with supply and demand the way it is, are here to stay for the long haul. And this is going to protect us for at least 10 years from seeing astronomical prices in some of the consumables that we have.
Makes me nervous to see, where we've gone in the last year. And I appreciate the service that you're going to put together, or putting together. And I think the fine-tuned parts weren't on, what were they on, Jim? They weren't on the finance, they were on...
It was an insurance issue, I believe.
Insurance, liability, those sorts of things.
So those should be able to be worked out, and we probably
Yeah,
have something pretty soon.
The talking heads above us are going to get all the information. And
Okay.
it's going to be like watching the halftime of a football game, so.
What's the stumbling? The 5 million?
So,
Good, well, let's get those talking heads together, and we'll be ready to move.
yeah, we're ready to go as soon as we get the go-ahead from our league.
Okay. And thank you for coming down again and working with us. We appreciate that. Well, we've got it.
He's wanting to come down to Morgan County awfully bad.
Well, we're glad to have you, and glad you're getting some service that's going to save the taxpayers some money. And appreciate your initiative, Don, on getting that.
Well, I wish we could find this in more of our vendors. I really do.
Good. I understand that. Any other questions from the board or Mr. Wisco? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you guys think of anything, as always,
All right, we get those talking heads fast, and get them jabbering, okay?
we're hoping to have something ready for you at least by the 3rd.
By when?
By the 3rd.
Oh, September? Yeah. We haven't decided if that's going to be our meeting yet. Have we done that?
This year we are.
This year's the 3rd? Oh, it's next year's the 5th? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
I hope it
Okay.
doesn't take that long to get
No. I wasn't positive on the dates. I saw some dates running by and I didn't look at the Labor Day weekend things. Okay, thank you.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you.
All right, another item on the agenda, that takes care of old business that we've tabled. Now we have the first item on the other business is our minutes from the August 2nd meeting. They're in front of you. You've had them in your packet. Do you have any questions or changes?
Did you take an action on tabling the Zoll?
I'm sorry, Jim.
Was there a motion to table the Zoll contract we just discussed?
Brian Kyer makes the
Yeah,
motion.
let's go ahead and table that,
Second.
make sure we get it official. Yeah, motion's been made to table the Zoll equipment lease until, well, as soon as we can get it, as a big heads talk, but we'll table it. And all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed to table 3-0. I'm sorry I missed that. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for catching it. I was looking at something there. Okay, back to the minutes. We have the minutes from August the 2nd, 2021.
Kenny Howe makes a motion, we approve the minutes for the August 2nd meeting.
Do we have a second?
Brian Kyer seconds.
All right, all in favor of the motion to accept the amendments as presented, or the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Okay, we have a couple of requests for some road closures. I'm sorry, this thing is make sure you get it. We have the 7th annual Jim's Journey, which is going to, they request starts in Monrovia High School. And it's going to be on September the 25th, which is, I think, the same weekend as that won't be unfair at all with that, is our Morgan County Festival, or Waverly Old Park Festival. There's a couple of road closures that are involved. We've done them before, but I want to make sure we're cool with that today. The road closures, are they the same roads? No, hang on just a second. No, that's a different one. It's Gordon Road and West Union Road. That's the roads in question. We did it in 2015, we did it in 2017. And it's, I'm not sure how long they keep them closed, just for the run itself, I think. Does that involve the Sheriff's Department? Okay, so who's that, with Monrovia? Was that inside the town of Monrovia? Goes out there towards the Christian church? Okay. So Monrovia's be the responsible party for the road closures, is that correct? Okay. So we don't have any authority to, it's not our roads to close, is that correct?
They are, they are, right?
They are? Okay, I was misunderstanding the situation. All right. So these are the two roads we're going to be closing in Monrovia, Gordon Road and West Union Church Road, and they'll be closed for a 5K cancer benefit run for Jim Seasteen. Do we have any comments, questions, or a motion?
Kenny Hill makes a motion, we approve the 7th annual 5K walk, run, or ride for Jim's Journey.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded for the 7th annual Jim's Journey run. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next item is the request to use the courthouse square. It comes from Bethany Latham. Is she here? Hi, Bethany. What's up?
Thank you for letting me come in here this evening. I have two requests. The first is for use of the courthouse square, the inside of the courthouse square, the driving areas, the parking areas, for a pet parade. We had a Martinsville Pet Parade in 2019 that went over really well. I don't know if you guys know of it or remember it, but a lot of people came, a lot of people dressed up their dog. They pay a very small fee to be in the parade. It's just a real cute thing. A lot of kids loved it, and all the money goes to, well, in 2019 it went to the Humane Society, and then this year I'm going to divvy it up amongst the rescues in the county.
Also what?
I'm going to divvy up the proceeds to the different pet rescues in the
okay.
county. Yes.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like.
Yeah, so.
Do I get to bring my llama or what? No, I don't.
Of course, we didn't do it last year because of COVID, but, you know, what we did in 2019 was we put barricades. You guys allowed me to put barricades in the entryways to keep people there from parking and having their cars there in the morning. And it is a real fast event. It'll start at 9. People will be gone by shortly after 10. It's real quick.
I see that you've got insurance that'll be paid by
Yes,
Rediscover Martinsville.
No, that's the other event.
I'm sorry?
That's for the other event.
Oh, that's
No,
the other
Rediscover-
one.
no,
Okay.
No, I cover the event insurance for this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, you're covering that. Okay.
yeah,
So you have 2 events.
yes,
All right, let's hear the second.
okay.
And Don can bring his llama, right?
Well, we probably ought to approve
You
the
can,
first one.
yeah, bring a lot, sure. If you guys will allow the llama,
Well, let's
bring the llama.
do one event at a time on
Yes,
this.
let's do one at a time. It's
Okay.
just, yeah, the
Let's
pet
get
parade
that
is,
llama
yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kenny Hill makes a motion that we approve the 2nd annual pet pep parade for the courthouse square, the date being October 1st, 2021, / Saturday, October 2nd, 2021.
Second.
We have a motion for the pep parade on October the 1st and Saturday, October the 2nd. You'll need the parade's just one day though, correct?
Yes, I just put it for Friday night to put up the barricades.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Friday
then
night,
it'll
you're
all be
setting them
opened up
Parade's
shortly.
on Saturday.
Yes, Saturday
Got
morning.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I saw that. I had my one form over the other and it said 500. That's a lot of pets.
That's a lot of pets.
Yeah, so I see, that makes more sense now. I was reading one that I should have read the other first. So, all right, we have a motion for the pet parade on the courthouse square, one night to set up, the next night for the parade, or next day for the parade. All in favor of that motion, say, did we get a second on that?
Brian Kyer, second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Now, the second event.
The second event, and I might be a little, kind of pretty early for this one, but we'd like to go ahead and get the date set. So this is for the planning for the Christmas tree lighting for this year. We'd like to be able to occupy, again, the area there at the courthouse square. We talk regularly with the city, so obviously some of the streets there will be involved as well, but we'd just like to secure the area there around the courthouse.
Now, can you promise 6 inches of snow like you
Oh,
did in
I hope.
2019?
Yeah,
Because that was perfect.
I know.
That was a good
Hallmark
evening.
moment, right? Yeah.
Brian Kyer makes the motion that we accept the request, the application for the use of the courthouse on Sunday, December 5th.
Second.
We have a motion to approve an event on the courthouse square, Christmas tree lighting on December the 5th.
Yes.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Bethany.
All right, thank you.
We're glad you're keeping us celebrating stuff.
That's right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Final item on our agenda here is a request from Tina Turner, and I think Elizabeth Meyer, or is it just Tina, has some information to bring to your attention.
Thank you for having us here tonight. I submitted some documents to you of resolutions and ordinances that were passed in Costa County in December of 2020, and then a newer one that was passed in May of 2021. And these ordinances have to do with sanctuary county status. As you know, our world was turned upside down in 2020. Overnight, we were told to close our businesses, close our churches, close our schools, keep our kids home from schools. And things pretty much just got worse, because then it went to, we have to wear masks outside, we have to wear, our liberties were just really usurped. So the idea of a sanctuary county is that government is local. And we want to create an environment where we live that embraces the Constitution of the United States and the Indiana Constitution. And you all take an oath to uphold those constitutions when you accept your job as county commissioners. So we're coming to you, and with the model that Costa County adopted. So the first resolution that they wrote was basically from December of 2020. And it talked about how the commissioner's role is legislative and executive of the county. And you took oaths to uphold the constitutions and the state constitution. And so you were not going to enforce mandates that went against the Indiana Constitution or the federal Constitution. So that was a resolution. which was the first thing I provided, which is this like 7-page thing. We could read it all here, but you already have copies, so you should have read it. Along with that, they passed an ordinance, which actually is something that is like a law for the county. And it said that every time you pass an ordinance, you're going to make sure that they don't violate the Constitution, infringe upon any of our inalienable rights and such. And then also part of that ordinance, you got the buy-in of the sheriff. So the sheriff signed a paper saying that they weren't going to go along with the county's position about what would be enforceable laws or not. And then in May, with the vaccines being out, a lot of people were having to get vaccines to have employment, get vaccines to maybe, our state government has not mandated vaccines, but it sounds like the Biden administration wants to make it so that vaccines are mandated. And, you know, we have personal liberty, we have body autonomy, and we should not be forced to take an injection if we don't choose to. So they passed a resolution for Costa County saying that vaccines are a personal choice. And in Costa County, they're not going to have like the county or county businesses mandating a vaccine for entry, to use a service, or for employment. Of course, that's just a resolution, it's not an ordinance. But basically, it's a statement saying that you support freedom and sanctuary in our county. Recently, Brown County, just I think last week, they passed a similar ordinance saying that masks are a personal decision, and in their county, masks should be a personal decision. So if school boards and local communities in Brown County shouldn't say masks are required. If people want to wear a mask, that's their choice, but they don't have to wear a mask. It should be a personal choice. Brown County made that resolution, and St. Joseph County did that resolution about 2 months ago too. I didn't bring that documentation. So there is a push for having sanctuary status. A lot of this comes from the fact that now we have this Biden administration. And
I'm sorry.
we have the Biden administration. And with that Biden administration, there's been some really kind of questionable things. Threats about our gun rights, threats about climate change that will affect how we're allowed to drive our cars or not drive our cars, or what type of gas we can buy. Anyway, there's just some really scary things coming down from our federal government, and we need to have control and make Morgan County a free area that embraces liberty and personal liberty for our residents. Thank you. Do you want to speak, Elizabeth?
I thank you for.
I'm sorry, I didn't get
Hello.
your name.
My name's Elizabeth Meyer, and I thank you for
Thank you,
considering
Elizabeth.
this. I'm very thankful. A 26-year resident here in Morgan County. I have 4 officers serving in law enforcement, and I am excited to say that my husband is retiring from IFD after 32 years of service next week. So this brings a very lively conversation table to discuss things like this. And what we kind of concluded in some of those discussions is we need to be assured that we're being protected from unconstitutional infringement. I've been a professor at a major Indiana university, and those around me who were supposed to be supporting constitutional rights to free speech came down with a list of topics no longer allowed here to be spoken about, and yet this is the bedrock of our society to discuss all points of view and to be in the marketplace of ideas. So now I'm here before you commissioners because I think that there are some forces that are being applied on us, and we need that reassurance that here locally, if I want to get on my soapbox down on the Morgan County Square someday and just share my thoughts, that you're going to have my back, that you're going to be supporting what I have to say, whether it's good, bad, indifferent to you, because I will listen to the same points of view from you. So I hope that you will defend that, and I love this little quote from Errol Weber, who said that we must think differently. Sometimes we think we have to comply because we want things to end, but it's because of our compliance that they don't end. So I'm asking you to take an action step. I'm asking you to say you will support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You gentlemen have anything you'd like to say or ask?
I don't believe so.
I'm sorry?
I don't believe so. I guess I've looked at a few of those, and, I mean, certainly the Indiana and U.S. Constitutions limit our action as it stands. I don't know how else I'd respond unless it was to something specific.
Sheriff, you're mentioned a couple places here. Do you have any comment on this at all?
Commissioners, I think she said it all when she started this out, that we were taking an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of Indiana. I've done that twice in my career, once as a state trooper and now once as a sheriff of your county. And that's what my job is, and that's what I'll follow, and that's what I'll do. I haven't seen these documents that they're talking about. I would just, if you guys are going to look at those and study, look at them very closely, look at them legally. I have seen those before, some other ones that can do some things that maybe they haven't thought about, or some people haven't thought about, that could limit us, things that we want to do later on or don't want to do. So I would have you legally look over these documents before you make a decision if you're going to do that, and to study those very closely. But I think as Morgan County, we are very blessed in this county, and I can tell you for one thing that I am going to follow the Constitution of the state of Indiana, the Constitution of the United States, and that's what I do. Again, I haven't seen these documents, what they are, but go on and beyond that, I have no further comment unless you have specific questions of me.
No, sir.
The audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think I saw or in your first comments there, Tina, that that oath of office that I've taken several times myself about both I don't know exact words. I have the oath of office. I stuck it in, and I don't know where I put it naturally. But it's very simple. You respect and agree to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Indiana. Obviously, we're down the line on that, but we're the bedrock of doing that. That's why we took the oath. I don't want to take any discredit from or discredit what you're saying, but I feel like I don't want to do anything that would tie my hands to do that. I don't think there's anything I've ever felt threatened by my liberties being. There's always somebody talking about doing this and doing that, but nobody's. I'm very conscious about my liberties, and I don't want to. Sometimes you can react and accomplish nothing except grief, especially when you try to enforce. The state of Indiana is pretty big, and then you go to the Constitution of the United States. That's even bigger. We've got a court system and an enforcement system that I think is second to none as far as the liberties. That's why people keep coming in. We build fences to keep people out, and they want in because of the liberties that we have. So I'd like to kind of, I guess you say, focus on what Jim has said and what the sheriff has said and say, basically, not yet. I don't think there's any really pressing threat, although there's people talking about it, but I think we're pretty good shape. I'm not willing to make a political statement for a statement that's really, it shouldn't be a political statement. It's part of our system. Is that?
My interpretation would be that is the attempt, more than a legitimate need or threat of any kind, that it is political in nature. That's my interpretation personally.
Okay, mine as well. Thank you, ladies. I think we'll not take any action on that. We might study it, and we'll keep that, the information you provided us at hand, and you made us aware of what your concerns are, and I guess the bottom line is we're not going to, I don't feel like any action needs to be taken on this except keep studying it, keep vigilant, and I think that's the secret to good government, is being vigilant about situations that you brought to our attention. So I personally will be very vigilant, making sure we don't see any concerns anywhere in the country, but we'll just keep watching. Is that, anybody else want to comment on that?
I would like to thank anyone and everyone that is always bringing material of this nature to me to educate me. You stated that you were a professor. What did you teach? Public speaking. I'm glad I took my bubble gum out of my mouth before I started talking. Yes. And I also have had the privilege of having a lengthy discussion with a good friend on sanctuary cities and counties, sometimes referred to as 2A. So, you know, when you put your name on a ballot and you get elected to a position such as commissioner, you expect to have handed to you some issues that some, if not many, find controversial. And when reading the fine print, you know, it's interesting that if you look at sanctuary cities, Johnson County did something along these lines in 2013. I'm very conscientious of doing stuff of this nature because of some past and some stigmatisms and stuff of that nature. I'm very sensitive to this type of action. Personally, I do not feel threatened, but I'm a firm believer as a lifetime member of the NRA that if you take away my Second Amendment right, my First Amendment right will probably soon follow. I studied history. I told somebody earlier I was one class away from a history major, but I didn't want to take U.S. Constitution because that professor didn't believe, he gave 1A out like the whole year. And I thought, I'm not going into my senior year with wasn't planning on studying that hard in that one class to get that major when I was already had another major. So long story short, thank you. I respect your presentation. I respect your rights. If this wasn't so much a public meeting and it was more of a debate, I would argue on this side, if I pass this within a short period of time, the verbiage in the paper could easily be overridden by the next person. So what I find in a piece of paper is interesting, but what one holds to heart and what one executes in action is what counts. I do not feel threatened to where any type of verbiage in writing would do any more than what my actions would be if I were to be threatened. And at this time, I'm not feeling threatened. I do agree with you, historically speaking, that these are unusual times, and I've studied past pandemics to better educate me on some of the fears that the media has championed, probably to get better ratings. So thank you for bringing this to my attention. I have read them, Tina. We got it on the 16th or 17th, and I did read through it, so I wanted You had mentioned that I have read through it. So I just don't want you to think that we get handed this stuff and I do nothing with it. I have read through it. Come on back up front because if you ask my wife, I'm hard of hearing. Yeah.
The lockdowns from 2020 have kind of ended. I think businesses that survived are back open. Businesses were closed. Businesses in Morgan County were told they weren't essential and they couldn't work. And that was not right. And
Which of the commissioners told them that?
none of the commissioners, but
Correct.
the state did. But you could have said, well, we're not going to force that if you're open in Morgan County. I don't know if you did that.
We didn't.
But, I mean, did you tell people they could be open?
I don't have the right to tell you to be open, and I did not execute the governor's wishes to close anyone.
Okay, but more lockdowns may be coming because the Delta variant, it's all about controlling us and scaring us. And, I mean, COVID is a bioweapon. It came from a lab, it was created in the lab, and it escaped. It's a bioweapon, and it's being used to change our country. Who was here the landlord? Because moratorium on rent and evictions. I mean, that affects people. That pretty much erases property rights, and property rights are one of the major bases of our United States government. If you don't have property rights, I mean, then you don't own your home. I mean, it's serious. And I understand that you think that we're through that and these aren't affecting us, and I know you all uphold the Constitution and you honor that. But tomorrow, it might be a different story and it might be too late, and it'll be too late for you to make a change or make a resolution or ordinance. That's all I'm saying. I know the next person can change it. That's the nature of politics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. You may. Amendment, we don't, we always honor that one. And
I'm Randy Brown from Mooresville, and the only thing I would say, we're not questioning anybody in Morgan County as far as their allegiance to our country and their oaths and things like that. We're very concerned about federal impositions. It doesn't seem like the many people in federal government are at all concerned about following the U.S. Constitution. And my second point would be, which gives us concern, and that's why we're talking like this, but my second comment would be that really, as I read the Constitution, the Indiana and the federal Constitution, I really think the Indiana state constitution is actually more significant in our daily lives in Morgan County than the federal Constitution is. I think that's the way the framers set it up. And I think we've kind of gotten lazy as citizens or ignorant or whatever, but we're allowing the things to just gravitate to power center in Washington, D.C. And I think seems like everything's going along okay, but just to finish up, that we were very concerned about the current administration and what they might do. Who knows what they might do, because, and I'm not just reading or listening to conspiracy theories and things like that. I feel like I'm a very balanced person on all this, but it's very concerning. So that's why some counties are bringing this sort of thing forward to say, if we get something from the federal government that is nuts, so to speak, or doesn't seem right under our Constitution, state Constitution, or the federal Constitution, then we will make sure our citizens in Morgan County will be back. Well, you'll have our backs. Okay? Thank you, sir.
thank you. Well, as you probably know, I was a history teacher and a government teacher. Or
Did you
might
give
not have
A's?
known that. I'm sorry?
Did you give A's? Yeah, letter grades of A's?
When,
I probably
unless I
would've
had
taken
a
US
smart mouth that
Constitution.
interrupted me, and then I probably flunked it. They got points off.
Yeah.
I counted you in my 3%. You know? But, you know, it's one of the most fascinating things a person can study is our history. And if I was trying to change the world, I would say we need more of it and less of, we need to focus a lot more on what I've seen in the way of, I guess you'd say, I don't know how you describe the conduct of the 2020-21 era. Either people just ignore it or I've been approached by people that don't have a clue about how it works. I would stress, instead of having a semester of government, we start a whole curriculum on how to determine what is and truth and what we have to treasure and what we have to appreciate and what we have to defend, and study people that have done it before us. We're not new. We've got people out there that have given us, and I actually, to be blunt, when I have to make a decision about anything, it's not, and I'm not putting religion in this as much as probably you think I am, but, you know, we've got the little bracelets that ask I ask what would Lincoln do? And I go to that guy a lot. He was principled and pragmatic, and I haven't seen a lot of that, not just in one administration or another. I see it happening all over. We need people that are principled and pragmatic, and I don't care what you're blue or red, it's not there. And we need that same kind of, I guess you say, respect in the information that we are continually being fed with, because there's a lot of stuff that's not doing us any good. So I'm thinking, what would Lincoln say? And I'm still cogitating about that, and I will. He had his challenges, and we have ours. And I guess I have to close by simply saying, as I told my grandson yesterday, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I think we need to keep that kind of thing as we're progressing through our difficulties, is to make sure we understand and observe what's happening for us, not just to us. Any other comments?
I'm only gonna
Oh, my.
comment, I'm gonna say, I'm actually a Civil War buff. I mean, me and Don talked about this today. We was talking about our favorite presidents, and he was talking about Dwight D. Eisenhower and Ronald Reagan. I let him know that my two favorite presidents is Lincoln and Ronald Reagan. My leader that I follow is God. I believe that we need to treat people the way we want to be treated. And that's the golden rule, and that's what I live by. And I'm very much am not going to infringe on somebody's rights. I did take the oath of office whenever I come in here back in '99, and I've taken it 5 times since, and I stand by them. So.
Thank you, Kenny. Yes, sir.
Hi.
Hello.
My name's Tim Serber.
I'm sorry? Tim
Serber.
Serber? Okay, thank you.
And I came here to support Tina and what she's bringing to the table. And I think what's being asked, and I feel like we're not getting any support in that, is, you know, when they shut down everything, the governor, last year, I don't remember hearing the county or the city, either one, saying, hey, keep your business open, keep the churches open, we're here to support you. We got your back. I think the only one that really did was the sheriff saying he's not going to enforce the mask mandates and stuff if you call him. And I think what we're just asking for, you guys have seen this. You're not blind. You know what's going on with the other, with the states, and with the governor keeps pushing this further and further and further because he doesn't want to let go of it because of the new law that's going to fall if he does stop it. So he's not going to let go of it. They're talking about shutdowns. The CDC is already talking about mask mandates for schools and businesses. All they're asking, the community is asking really,
is just to have your support that if it comes out with a mask mandate, CDC comes out and says, kids need to wear masks to schools. Young children, there's tons of studies that prove that young children are not, it's not good for them. It's very unhealthy for them. They can't focus. Some of the things, studies they come out is kids can't even really recognize emotion because little kids look at your face. They see you smile, they smile. They see you frown, they kind of wonder. So we just want that support, knowing that you guys are going to say, all right, if the state comes down with that, we're going to be a constitutional sanctuary county. It's pretty simple. And I don't understand why you can't say that. It's not, you're not tying your hands, you're just upholding the Constitution in the first place. And I think that's important, to know that you got our backs.
My response is fairly simple. It's not as simple as what it appears as far as what we should be doing, because I think right now we're seeing, when we made a pandemic political instead of fact, we started getting in the weeds that we don't need to be in. We've seen tremendous loss of life that didn't need to be and couldn't have been avoided. And I think that's, and some people want to ignore it, say that was manipulated. No, that's a fact. We can see it going on as we speak. We can see the states where they've not done what has been required to be safe.
What about the states that have done not what's required and they have had great results? Florida just
Well,
this week
we
admitted
could get
that
into
the
those
CDC
weeds. I will just simply say, and you can see it, and I see it every night. I can see what we've done in our own counties, and we can see it's become political instead of sensible. And that's not working. And I don't think it's political to say, frankly, that I guess the Constitution is fairly political, and when you start looking on how it affects people's lives, because you're dealing with freedoms and you're dealing with safety, all in the same ball game. You know, how do we protect? I want to go back to the Constitution and say one thing that I've been thinking about that might make sense, and maybe helps form my decisions on how I conduct my personal life and how I conduct my political life, which I don't like to even think of political. But the Constitution, most people tend to forget that the most important, or at least I think they don't see it, but in the preamble it says to form a more perfect union. We're forming. Sometimes when you're forming, not everybody agrees on how it should be formed, but we're working to form a more perfect union, and that's the beauty of our Constitution. We've changed our laws. We've changed the laws on gun, and the Second Amendment's changed. You know, at one time, AK-15s were banned, and we put them back. We let that cow out of the barn when we let them go back out. We're experiencing some tremendous problems with guns every day. It's not somebody's political comment, it's what's going on.
We don't have any problem with guns, it's the people
Pardon?
that use them. It's not the guns. Gun can't do anything unless somebody pulls that trigger, so I don't
Well,
agree with that comment on that.
you know, we don't want to get into the debate on the things that have happened. I've always said the Second Amendment would be better if we just gave everybody a cannon and a musket, and we go from there. But it is always a struggle on the liberty. I think the problem is, where do we draw the line? When do we do what we need to do? And is it too late to do anything? Well, we've probably done some problems with that, but we keep struggling and try to get the best we can. We're not ignoring the issue, and what we're doing is saying we're studying that issue because it's very important to us.
So and just for my own understanding, if the CDC or this state comes back and says, you know, lock down all businesses, will the county then take that up and seriously consider not going with that recommendation?
I would just,
Go ahead.
for a few moments, just interject from the legal perspective, less policy, but legal perspective, a unit of government in Indiana, be it county, municipality, doesn't have the lawful authority to not follow governor's orders and federal orders. And in essence, you're asking that the commissioners take an action so that if federal government or some other level of government doesn't follow the Constitution as, and your rights as you perceive them, that the commissioners will then take the unlawful act to defend you against them, where in essence, so that is essentially trying to correct the problem by insisting they take an unlawful act doesn't seem the best way to go about it. And the Constitution empowers citizens with the courts to seek redress. And if any level of government, be it this one or be it the state or the federal, you can seek those, your appropriate remedy in court, but asking local government to not follow the hierarchy of government is improper, and even if it did, it can't enforce an order with the state of Indiana and the National Guard or whoever else, both in manpower and a number of other ways, so.
Well, that is what I'm asking, but I do like, why are other counties able to think that they can?
Don't know.
It's them.
So there's obviously two sides to this somehow, that there's some counties that believe they can. The legal side has probably said, yeah, you can do this, and we're saying here, you're saying that they can't, we can't. They can't.
Well, they won't be able to. I mean, the ultimate, as Jim has said, is the ultimate protection of the people is the courts. That's because
why
the
do we vote
ultimate,
you guys in?
we're a government of law, not of people.
Yeah, but I think you're also part of that protection.
No, I can mess up.
That's what I feel.
Well,
That's my personal
the
opinion.
problem, well, I'd have to refer to, I guess, my own personal feeling is that
Well, I
I'm
said my
held
piece.
accountable by the law. And I can't change the law. You change the law changes, but I can't, that's where we go.
Well, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let you know, we, and I know what Elizabeth was saying earlier as far as Brown County and another county doing it, there was also another county, Montgomery County. They're actually passing guidelines on the statement regarding mask guidelines. I mean, that's the counties that I know that's done that. Is 3 of them to date. It is Montgomery, it is Brown County, and the one you stated earlier. That's the only ones that I've heard of. I do have a copy of John Fry's that they passed in Montgomery County, and I've seen the one Diane Biddle did in Brown County. We have been working on a draft version of that, but it wasn't ready for tonight. But we are gonna be doing that, but it's a total different issue from the sanctuary cities. So that's the only comment, Tim, but I appreciate you coming up and talking.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, ladies, as well.
Well, interesting discussions and interesting thoughts, and they're not, we're not laying them to rest. We're keeping them in our minds, and we're watching how we do things and how we learn. It's a classroom. Government's a classroom, really. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Skip for the good of the county.
Oh, we want to do that before. For the good of the county, we always have a little section that I put in, or that we put in, called the good of the county. And let's start. Kenny, you got something to throw in?
No, I just was wanting to remind you, you skipped it.
Yeah, well, thank you for the reminder. I will remind you guys that, first of all, I want to say some good news, I suppose. I think it's good news. The county fair was a great success, and we had a wonderful time. And I know I work with the Lions Club up in Mooresville, and we had the Old Settlers Picnic, and by gosh, it was so good to get back to seeing people and enjoying the fair. I just heard a financial report today that it was one of the best years they've ever had, and at Mooresville, and we're looking forward to the event coming up in Waverly in the 24th and 25th? 25th, 26th of Waverly. Be sure and keep that. We're still planning that for our annual Waverly. And next year, 2022, it will be a big party. And we're hoping we get a lot of folks there for our bicentennial. And that's the other thing, I guess the good news is that we're having a lot of people come over to the county museum across the street. If you haven't been there, go there. It's a great spot. And they've done a terrific job. They've got the hours. They're not, but they've got it rolling. And I don't have the hours with me, but I know it's Monday and Thursday and I think Saturdays. So hit the museum and get ready for the bicentennial coming up. We got a lot of fun parties involved and coming. None of them involve masks, by the way. So we hope. Any other good for the good of the county? Then I'll now entertain a motion for adjournment.
Kenny Hill makes a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Been second, and motion made 3-0. Have a good evening. Thank you for your presence.